Hi guys, I'm Shmi and welcome to the 2017 Geneva Motorshow, where we're going to take a full look at the Lamborghini Huracan Performante. And I've said that very, very quickly because this car, the Huracan Performante, is a record holder. It has set the lap record at the Nurburgring Nordschleife, 6 minutes 52.01 seconds. It's been the global unveiling and first ever opportunity to see the new car here, and we're going to go in and take a full look at it. So what is this? This is the track-focused version of Lamborghini's Huracan. So originally the LP610-4, but now with 640 horsepower, so 30 horsepower up, the same 5.2 litre naturally aspirated V10 engine, mated to the 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox, but it's also 40 kilos lighter, even though we have a few additions in the form of the new rear wing and some additional aerodynamics, some particularly special aerodynamics that I'm going to show you a little bit later on as well. So as I wander around it, the most distinctive thing obviously for this car is the colour. The Arancio Athenaeus satin orange that is very bright and bold and complemented by the tricolore stripe that you have on the lower section of the door leading towards the rear vent there. It's obviously got the touches with the black side skirts, the black door mirrors, but there's a lot of carbon fibre as well to be seen around the car that I'm going to show you in a second. Draw attention to the wheels, the new Mimas wheels, 20-inch wheels wearing P0 Corsa tyres, but you can also have the car with the semi-slick track tyres, the Trofeo Rs2. As the car's rotating around, it's still very distinctively a Huracan, but a little bit more of an aggressive one. And obviously it needed to be able to achieve that lap time at the Nurburgring. The weight savings coming from the use of carbon fibre, obviously. Lighter seats on the inside. Hopefully we'll get a glance at the inside a little bit later on. But as it's coming round, I can come down to the front and show you, well, here at the splitter, where we can see the logo for ALA, Aerodynamica Lamborghini Attiva. And this is their particularly clever system whereby there are some electronically controlled ducts that can open and close flaps to allow airflow through and underneath the car. So you've got one on each side, which work in harmony with some additional vents at the rear that I'll go around and show too. And what they basically do is the corner that's on the inside will close up to basically give it a little bit more turning force by pushing the air through more towards the outside. So in general terms, you can see that the sort of car has moved the colour sections out towards the outside to give it a lower and sort of wider and more aggressive stance. But combining that with some actual sort of functionality is basically what's given it those performance figures of which we speak. As the rear of the car gets a little bit closer, the one very distinctive feature is how high and raised that rear wing sits. I'm going to let it spin around a touch more and talk you around the back half. Naturally, the Performante has retained Lamborghini's all-wheel drive system, so the Haldex four-wheel drive system, the Dash 4 that kind of goes into the naming. So although this car isn't officially the LP640-4, that is how it would sit versus their conventional naming structure. But the rear is getting a little bit closer, which means I can come in and show you a little bit more about how this aerodynamic system works. And in particular, these ducts here on the rear deck lid that basically pull air in. They come through this sort of channel funnel inside, up through a carbon fibre channel through the rear struts to the wing, and out through these holes you can see on the underside to complete that aerodynamic effect that I talked about earlier. So that is naturally quite a clever little system, and all of that's housed in this carbon fibre wing that you can see has this very sort of unusual raw texture to it. And that's what you see throughout the car, everywhere you look. Quite different from before. But we've now got the rear a little bit more visible, so we can see the aggression of the diffuser. You can see those very large, more centrally mounted exhaust tips, slightly offset one to each side, sitting above the number plate placement, but this is quite heavily reworked from the regular Huracan. You can see the cutaways behind the tyres, so the gaps for stones to fly out, but obviously for air to escape very quickly and not get caught up, turbulent air getting removed and eliminated from the process. It's got this sort of shape that cuts out and goes all the way around the top of the exhaust pipes, and quite an aggressive diffuser, the full width. Across the bottom too, but you can see all the sorts of open space basically to let the air out of the car, the hot air from the engine, naturally running very hot with the V10 going on in there. From here you can see just quite how high up the wing is, sitting above the rear deck lid. Probably, if you're actually driving the car, the wing sits above your view line. Let's jump to the inside then. You can see a whole host of the raw forged carbon fibre even the forged composites badge there on the air vent, but very familiar Huracan, just with the new sort of trim and finish, and the bucket seats, so we can see that very hardcore, looks very, very rigid, solid seat for the driver and the passenger. You see weight savings through the seat, but you've got more of the carbon continuing through all the trim around the car too. Dive a little bit further in just to remind you what the inside of the Huracan is like. Big digital display for the driver behind the steering wheel. And all the sort of hexagonal shapes pretty much everywhere you look. These kind of angular, triangular. Actually that continues through the trim in the centre of the seat too. Up to the Lamborghini embroidered headrests. Catch a glimpse of the engine bay and how those vents work towards the rear as well. Got a bronze finished cover over the top, but lots of the sort of forged carbon you can see in there too. Very pretty place. Always quite funny how Lamborghini engines sit slightly off centre though. Something you notice immediately, obviously, to get the weight balance completely spot on. It's not really a baby Lambo anymore, is it? The Performante is a proper supercar with some very, very serious ambitions. I feel like there's quite a lot of colour going on here, with the orange, the gold, the green, white and red of the tricolore, the Italian flag, but it certainly has a lot of presence, and that kind of drama that comes from the Lamborghini looks, which I think is a big part and big factor in their appeal. But while we're here on the stand, I'm going to swing around and take a look at some of the other cars we've got. Over here you've got the Huracan Spider, the LP610-4. I wonder if in the future there'll be a Spider variant of the Performante. Who knows, but this is the sort of, I guess, more regular, softer car. Not that it's necessarily soft at all, but a very wonderful car to be driving, because I imagine, well, I know from driving it, roof down, V10 exhaust note, sounds rather special, and presumably, having not heard it, the Performante exhaust is on another level, but hopefully I'll get an opportunity to do so in the future. We also have the Aventador S that I was lucky enough to go to drive on snow at the Winter Accademia in Livigno, Italy. So I had the opportunity to play with the Aventador S and the Huracan recently and show you around the car in full detail. But the S takes power up 40 horsepower, a 6.5 litre V12. It introduces rear wheel steering to give you a sort of shorter wheelbase feel when cornering tightly, or more stability at speed. So it basically makes the large Big Daddy Lambo feel a little bit more comfortable to drive in an aggressive manner. And a couple of styling tweaks as well, so a new sort of exhaust shape and layout, this sort of black section around the number plate darkened just to sort of distinguish it. You have the vents that stay up here always open. On the regular Aventador it has rising and closing vents when the car's heat, but you rarely see those in Europe, mostly in the sort of hot countries. And around the front, slightly reworked too, with new kind of pieces, new areas just here. So that's the Aventador S. That's been Huracan Performante, or at least that one for now. Upstairs at the Lamborghini stand I found another Huracan Performante in quite an interesting colour combination with some other specification options to take a look at too. So this is in Grigio Titans, and it screams Veneno to me. It's got the colours and the just image and appearance of that kind of level of car. It's got the different Lorges wheels which have the centre lock. I'm going to show you the options for those as well, but they're a very open wheel with the stripe of the new P0 tyres as well on this car. But you can see the way that the tricolore stripe is painted onto the side of the door frame. You've got this dual tone. This car's finished in satin on the side skirts, but you can have the centre locks in various different colours that I'll head over to show you in the display box over there in a moment. But this feels like an aggression that very much matches the character of the car, I would say. I'll try and come around it a little bit more just to see the details. If I can squeeze round towards the front. See the car headlights on. Very quickly you can see the different options for the centre locks here too, the gold, black and the red. And over that side the brake caliper options with blue, silver, orange, black and yellow. With this rather awesome view of the entire show, and of course the Aventador S and the Huracan Performante down there, I am going to bring today's video to a close. So that's a first look at the new Huracan Performante that's been revealed here at the 2017 Geneva Motorshow. Next up, it's going to be time to take one of those out and try it on the track and see what it's made of. Although if that Nurburgring record is anything to go by, it's going to be quite an impressive piece of kit. I will end there though. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Make sure you're subscribed to see all of my other content with the cars at this year's Geneva Motorshow, and of course going ahead in the future. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch up with you again soon. Cheers!